Hello everyone. Well, I've got a new report I just received that quite a bit different than any of the others that I've reported to you, because this kind of falls into what I would call high strangeness. Falls into the category of things like portals and things like that, and it does involve a Bigfoot as well, and it happened, or reportedly happened, not too far from here actually. Now this report takes place in the Arbuckle Mountains, which is down near a small town called Sulphur, Oklahoma, which I'm very familiar with. Matter of fact, the area that this happened, I'm very familiar with, because I have actually fished there and hiked there and know exactly where the gentleman that sent this report in is talking about. So anyway, that being said, I'll jump right into it. And this is the email that this gentleman sent to me regarding this encounter. He said, "Hello David, I've been watching your videos and have something I would like to share with you." He said, "You can give the location as it is visited by many people anyway. All I ask is that you do not use my name." So like I said, we'll use the location, because he said that's fine. I am omitting his name by request. Says this happened in spring of 2007 near the town of Sulphur, Oklahoma. He said, "I was fishing along Rock Creek, which is very close to Veterans Lake, just a few miles south of town." He said, "I used to hike and fish along this creek often, but I've not since this happened." He said, "I was fishing for smallmouth bass and bluegill and had hiked quite a ways from the main road, wading and fishing. I didn't see anyone else and was enjoying the solitude." He said, "I came to a place where the water was deep enough that I decided it best to get back on the trail and walk around to a more accessible spot to fish. The trail at this time, perhaps even now, was not very wide, only about 2 feet, with lots of trees and brush on both sides. I was paying attention to where I stepped. I didn't want to trip and risk breaking my fishing rod. I got to a place on the trail, and he said, I just got a feeling like something was watching me. The only way I can describe it, it was a heavy feeling, almost like a weight on the back of my neck." He said, "I looked to my left, which was the side away from the creek, and about 30 or so feet up the wooded slope from where I was walking, standing right beside a large tree facing me, was what I can only describe as a Bigfoot. It was so close I could see it clearly enough to tell that it was not a bear or any other animal that I know. It was covered in reddish brown hair, and it was standing upright on 2 legs with its arms hanging straight down at its side. He said, if I guess, he said, I would guess its height was between 6.5 to 7 feet tall. As far as I could tell, the only part of it not covered in hair was its face, which had a dark tan color to it. And he says, I don't remember facial features, but he said it had black eyes. He said, I don't know why that detail stuck in my head, but it did. He said the whole thing could not have lasted more than a few seconds before it just turned and stepped right into the trunk of the big tree beside it." And he goes on to say, "And I don't mean behind it, I mean right into it." He said it literally disappeared right into the trunk of that tree. And he said this made even less sense to me than seeing a Bigfoot. Where did it go? He said, I could see the other side of the tree clearly, so I know it didn't just step behind it and run away. He said it simply was gone. I don't know how long I stood staring at the spot where it disappeared. Couldn't have been long. Anyway, he says, fight or flight, quote, kicked in, and I hightailed it out of there, looking over my shoulder the whole way back to my car. I've since read reports and seen videos on YouTube about Bigfoot being able to come and go from our world using portals. Is this what I was witness to? He said, I didn't tell anyone about this for a long while, and then only a few trusted friends. He said, I mean, seeing a Bigfoot is enough. Seeing it step into nothing is another thing altogether, and I agree there. And he goes on to say, again, feel free to share my story if you would like, just please do not use my name. Maybe there have been others who have seen something similar in that area. And I would add to that, if you've seen anything similar to that in any area, I would really like to hear about it. But in relation to this, you know, if anybody's had any type of Bigfoot encounter down in this area around the Sulphur Arbuckle Mountains area, I would like to hear about it. And if you have, just send that to me in a report at bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. That's bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. If you want me to share it, I will. If you don't, I won't. So I would just like to have it for my records and database if you would like to share it. Now, about that area, I said I'm very familiar with it, and I am. I have fished that same creek as he's talking about, and I know right where you get onto the creek at. There's a sharp turn in the dirt road that goes back in there, and you step off that dirt road and there's a trail. People use it for horseback riding and to get to the creek to fish. It's a good little fishing creek. It's not especially big, but there's shallow areas and there's some deep holes, and I can't be positive, but I got a pretty good idea of the exact location where he had this encounter. And it's the place. I mean, if I'm describing the terrain there close to the creek, it's very heavy woodland, a lot of brush, a lot of trees, and then you go further on and it almost turns into kind of a rocky prairie top with cedar trees and stuff on it. It's very rocky terrain, but it's fairly remote as well. Not too far from town. I think probably 5 or 6 miles south of Sulphur. But like I say, I've got a good idea of exactly where he had this encounter. Now, I've always been in kind of the flesh and blood camp when it comes to the nature of the Sasquatch and all. Now, what this gentleman claimed to see was this creature standing there staring at him and then stepping right into the trunk of a tree, just disappearing into it. Now, that sounds like what he's describing is what I know. I've seen this on other YouTube channels as well, portals and things like that. I know if you watch any of Scott Carpenter's YouTube videos, he reports a lot on those types of things. David Politis on his Missing 411 video speaks some about things like this. So it's definitely a mystery. And what I would say to people, if you've had an encounter like this, witnessed something like this, don't be afraid to report it. Like I say, I'd really like to read about it, and if you don't want it shared, don't want your name shared, I will not. If you do, I would. But anyway, if you have anything like that you'd like to share, send it to me in email, bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. That's bigfootandmore@yahoo.com. If you're enjoying the content on this channel, do me a big favor, like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. And with that, I'll leave it at that. And until next time, you guys take care, and thanks for watching.